Okay, hello everybody. I'm decided I'd come on sooner than later and talk about another thing that I worked on in my D&D game that I wanted to share with you guys. Since almost nobody commented on my last video, I'm going to take that as we don't want to be mean, so we're not going to say anything. So I'm going to assume that you didn't think much of my combat system, and I can understand that. It does seem convoluted. It does seem like like I'm overly complicating the game. The reason I shared it is because when we play tested it, it played well and it didn't overcomplicate the game. Doesn't mean it won't, because I didn't play test it enough. But all you're doing is rolling an attack die and a defense die, as opposed to one 20-sided die. You're just rolling 2d10. That's the difference. And you're not rolling an initiative roll. There's no need to roll initiative with this system. And if you check the video, I mentioned Dungeon Craft, and he has a system that uses the d20 system where he doesn't need to roll for initiative, and I encourage you guys to watch that. But I added in the description of that video, if you'd like to go look at it, a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of my combat system. But today I wanted to talk about something else that I've created. This is I had to get everything in one rule book. I said, if we're going to play, unfortunately we ended up not playing. My plans fell apart. But this is my own player's handbook that I wrote on my computer in this kind of fashion. So it's and there's going to be changes, but I'm just giving you so you can see what it looks like. It's a whopping 77 pages, and it was a lot of fun to do. It needs work. I need to go over it and redo it. But today I want to talk with you guys about my fighter skill sets. I want to share this with you and see what you think. The other thing I like about this is that when we change the rules, if we're playing and we decide, let's change it, I can just pull these out and I could redo the rule and rewrite it and then just put it back in and drop it in. So we can update and change as we go. Unfortunately, that computer of mine is no longer working. I do have the file, but I need to get a better, I can't create this kind of stuff on what I'm currently using. So it's a little odd. It's a little frustrating, but at least I have the book. It needs to be rewritten now. I don't know if I ever will. Anyway, I wanted to share with you why I used fighter skills for my game. If you remember from first edition, the fighter didn't get anything other than hit points and an improved THAC0. Rangers have abilities, paladins have abilities. By second edition, there was the barbarian, they had abilities. The fighter really didn't get much, but he had hit points and he fought good. But why be a fighter if you can be a ranger? The only reason you were a fighter is because you didn't qualify to be anything else, so you were a fighter. It's fine, but I always thought, shouldn't fighters have something? So I created fighter skills, and then I realized, well, everybody has to have fighter skills. Anybody who fights should be able to get fighter skills. So what I did was I simply gave the fighter class the most skill points, and everybody else gets some skill points, trying to balance it out. This has not been play tested, but I'm just going to share it with you. In my game, anybody can do this in combat. Anyone, doesn't matter. You can you can increase your attack by 1 point by lowering your defense by 2 points. And you can do that up to 4 times. So you can increase your attack by 4, but you're going to suffer -8 to your defense. Or you can increase your defense by 1 to 4 points, but you have to decrease your attack 2 points for every point. So it's a 2 for 1. Anyone can do it. It's kind of like if you're down to 1 hit point, you might as well go all defense and suffer the -8 attack penalty. To me, it makes combat more interesting. To me, it gives you more options because again, for the all the games that we played, combat at times got a little boring, a little too generic. So I was just looking for things to add flexibility and making combat more interesting. And my 2d10 roll seemed to make combat more interesting. And I think these fighter skills will make it more interesting. So since everybody can do a 2-for-1, what the fighter skills, I broke them into different skills, and they required a certain number of points to be able to use them, and you start out with a certain amount of points, very few points, and every level your points increase, and then you can pick what skills you want, which means everyone's going to have a different set of skills. They'll roughly be the same, but they won't be exactly the same. There'll be a variance. You might not care about certain skills, and some skills you can use more than once. For instance, I start with an attack skill and a defense skill. So while anyone can do raise your ability 1 by lowering the other 2, if you are skilled if you have the attack skill, you can do it 1-for-1 up to 4 times. So you can raise your attack by 4, and your defense will only go down by 4 instead of 8. So +4 attack, -4 defense. Simple. Or +1 attack, -1 defense. And you can do that every round. And then a second skill is defense skill. I didn't want to give you both. I give you one. You can have one, and then you can have the other one, but there's 2 different skills. You have to spend the points to get them, and there's a level requirement for each skill. These you can get at first level. So you can do your defense skill 1-for-1. So that's one thing, and I can even show it to you. That's basically right here. I don't know if you can read it, but it tells you the number of times that you can do it, the level, the number of points that it requires, and what's that over there? Yeah, the ability. Now, the warrior, as I refer to the fighter, starts out with 3 points, and then at second level he gets 3, and then he gets 4 at third, then 3, 3, 5, and then 3 and 3, and when he hits 9th level, he gets 10 points. I have not play tested that. I don't know if that's good or not. And let me contrast that with the ranger, who starts every other fighter. So rangers, paladins, and barbarians start out with 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5. So at 9th level, the ranger has 26 skill points. The warrior has 37 skill points. And the ranger and the barbarian are the same. Now let me just jump over to the cleric. The cleric, do I even put them on here? I might have put them somewhere else. I think they eventually get some skill points, but not as many as the fighter. And the rogue and the monk gets points. So everybody but a wizard will get some skill points, but not as many as the fighters. The other ability the other skills that you can have at first level, when we played D&D the first time, when goblins would flee, I remember there was goblins and they were fleeing, and the guy said, "We get a fleeing shot." And I have no idea what's going on. It's like, what are we doing? And he says, "Oh yeah, you get to make a fleeing shot roll." So we would get an attack, and we'd either hit him or not. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. I wondered if the goblins would get fleeing shots if we fled. They should. So in the game, as we would play over the years, I started thinking, should that be automatic? Is there more of an interesting way to do it? And for me, it just came down to a roll. So the creature is fleeing. If they roll better than you, they flee. You don't get a shot. They've fled from you. If you make the roll, if you beat their roll, you get to make an attack. It's simple. So that is 2 more skill sets. You can have a skill of being able to flee better than most. Obviously, faster creatures will flee better than slower creatures, obviously. And you can get a fleeing shot, so you will be able to react to something fleeing to you. So there's 2 more skills that you can take, and each of these first 4 skills cost 2 points, and each one can be used at first level. But of course, with only getting 3 points or 2 points, you're only getting 1 to start with the first level. And eventually there's second level skills all the way up to 9th level skills. And I put the weapon specialization and the multiple attacks per round as skill points now. So you get them when you get them if you want them, but they cost more points. For instance, weapon specialization, a warrior can get it at 3rd level. Anyone else can get it at 4th. That's the other thing. Warriors get these skills 1 level earlier. So whatever the level is on the sheet, that's for warriors. Everyone else, it's 1 level higher. So everybody, rangers and all, can get weapon specialization at 4th level, but it costs 5 skill points to get it. So you have to have 5 when you get to that level. 3 attacks per 2 rounds in general, you can't achieve until 5th level, and it costs 6 points. And 5 attacks every 2 rounds you cannot get until 9th level. And I'm not sure if that's where 1st edition was, but it costs 8 points. So the higher ones are more powerful, but they also cost a lot of points. So you have to consider, you won't be able to get everything on this list. I tried to make it so you can't get everything on the list until you're really, really high level, so that people would pick what they want. I have things like being able to knock an opponent down, which creatures like ogres and giants and any kind of big creature is going to naturally have a chance to knock you down when they hit you. So a warrior should have that ability, and anyone should be able to have a better chance. It's just a chance. It's not a guaranteed knockdown. It's a percentile roll, or I forget exactly how I did it. There's the ability to dodge an attack. There's an ability to disarm your opponent. And again, these are chances. They're not guarantees, because guaranteed disarm every time you make, that would be ridiculous. Surprise. That's an ability. You have a better chance to surprise if you're skilled in that. And I just came up with other items. So this gives the fighter every level, they get skill points. Everyone else does, except wizards, but not as many. So it gives you an incentive to be a warrior as opposed to a ranger. And then I added one additional thing to this, which is high intelligence gets bonus points. That makes sense to me. I think you'll agree that high intelligence would make sense. I'm not quite sure what it should be. Should I do my simple 14 and 15 is +1 on my modifier, so that would be +1 point. 16 and 17, 2 points, and 18, 3 points? Or is that too much? I'm not sure. I could lower it, make it 1 less or something like that. But that's my fighter skill point system, and I have other things in here that I'll show you at times. Maybe at some point. I'm just flipping through here because I turned and I lost my place. See, so I created a falling damage table with injuries, because why should you just take 30 hit points from falling? How about you break your leg or break your arm? Seems like an interesting aspect to add to the game. And breaks and sprains don't heal as well as just 10 points of damage. It's harder to heal those things. So it still heals. Your magic still will increase the healing, but it'll take longer. And now you have to deal with broken arms, broken legs, things like that. Now, again, is this complicating the game? Is this making the game too convoluted? Or is it making the game more interesting? And that's the balance that I think is what D&D is really all about, is finding that balance between realism and fantasy, keeping the game interesting without making the game just be so many rules, and it becomes too, I'm not sure what the right word is, convoluted, I guess is the best word. And had the group that I was hoping to play with, had that happened, I would have had these all probably a lot more worked out, but they're not now. I also have the non-weapon proficiencies from second edition, which I think are really cool, but I modified them somewhat and made some changes to those too. I might get into all these things with you guys at some point, but I hope you'll look at my explanation of the in my previous video, where none of you wanted to leave a comment, with my combat system. I'm not saying it's doesn't have issues. I'm saying from the little bit we play tested, it played well, and it was fun to roll to block the attack of a monster just as much as it was fun to roll to hit the monster. And the fact that it wasn't one number every for the whole combat. You need a 15 to hit. It needs a 11 to hit you. It's not and nothing's locked in. The attack roll will vary, the defense roll will vary, and I thought that made combat more interesting. But the only issue is, will rules like this make the game worse or better? And I wanted to find out, and I've not been able to. So that's the other reason why I'm sharing this on here, is I'm looking for feedback. So if you think my combat system in my previous video isn't good, feel free to go on there and leave a comment and tell me why you think it isn't good. You can give me constructive criticism. I have no problem with that. And if you want to come on and make some silly comment, that's fine too. I can handle it. I'm not 15. I'm not looking for validation as much as I'm looking for discussion. That's the same with my book too. If you guys will listen to my narration on my story and offer me constructive criticism, in addition to telling me what you liked about the story and what you find interesting in the story, that would be great. I'd love to get into a discussion about D&D in general, about my story, about the rules, my book that I came up with, and just for fun, show you how much time I had on my hands. I still have a lot of time because I live alone and I'm usually home every evening. Not only did I write my own player's handbook, but I had to put the spells in separate manuals. So here's the book of cleric spells, all in one book. See how nice that is? So now you have all the cleric spells in one book, because we were pulling from multiple books playing the game, and it just got ridiculous. It was so silly. And then here's all the spells for the druid. Again, it's not too many. And it's the same thing. And here's all the spells for the wizard. All the wizard spells, 1st to 9th level. And I did all this. This took a long time. But I enjoyed it. And I created spells because certain schools of magic needed a few more spells, so I did it. And it's fun. Maybe I'll go through that stuff with you sometime. So yeah, I did a lot. I even created for my campaign my own list of deities that are in my world, and so it's all these deities with how they all work, what they can do. It's just I had a lot of time in my hands, and I wanted to develop my game, and that was my goal. And that turned into my story, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, give me some feedback if you want. Love to get into discussion with you guys. Love to hear your constructive criticism. I'd prefer constructive criticism. That's a better way to, tell somebody, here's why I think your system is no good. There's a way to do it. You choose however you want to do it. And if you guys want to talk about something, or if you want me to, I don't know how to live stream. I don't think I can live stream until you have, don't you need like 1,000 subscribers before you can live stream? I think that's the case. So, I'll just join other people's live streams maybe sometime. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.